Hey, friends. Welcome to the Self-Love Strong podcast. And today we have a very special guest. We have Tina Fletcher. She's an author, a speaker, and an advocate for redefining your self-permission. She brings a unique perspective of how we unconsciously build lives that appear successful, yet leave us exhausted, disconnected, and stuck in cycles of overcommitment. As an author of The Weight of Yes, Tina explores the quiet burdens that always saying yes, the unspoken expectations and the automatic approvals, and the toll it takes on our well-being. Her book is a powerful guide for everyone who has spent years of prioritizing others, helping them recognize the weight they've been carrying and how to finally put it down. Tina challenges the way we talk about self-permission. For her, the solution isn't about burning everything down, but rather embracing the conscious pause, shifting from self-sacrifice to intentional giving. Tina, welcome to the Self-Love Strong podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here as well. I think that we have so much to talk about and it's going to be so much fun.
Yes. So, man, Tina, when I first heard your message in self, there's this question that came straight to me. It said, how do we first realize we're even saying yes too much?
I think the first time you realize it is that after you've said yes, you suddenly feel kind of sad about it. A bit, you could even be really angry. You just feel like, oh, I've done it again. I've agreed to something I don't want. So unfortunately, it comes after you've said the yes, not before. But that's when you understand that you have to learn to make a conscious choice and move off that autopilot of saying yes. And then you can change it to before, not the after.
Oh, I love that, man. Because, it's funny, as a parent, as someone who's, wants to serve others, I find myself in that people-pleasing state. So when I heard like saying yes, I'm like, man, how do I know if I'm saying yes? But I felt that feeling you talked about many times before. It's almost like that regret that initially comes from putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and as parents, it happens all the time, but it happens, and especially now with more and more people going online into their own businesses. It's so easy to go, I'll take that client, I need that client. And you're agreeing to boundaries that you had put in place, but then you forgot. And suddenly you're up at 3:00, oh, yeah, sure, I can do that, and you're people pleasing in every way. But it's not just people pleasing, it's forgetting that you've got to say yes to yourself first. So, yes, I'd love to work with this client, but with these boundaries. Not, yes, I want to work for this client because I'm so excited to have a client. I've been doing this. I've been working online for myself for 30 years or so now. And I can't tell you the amount of times I agreed to something that was absolutely crazy and then regretted it or smiled through it, which is even worse. Yes, that's good. I've got a client. I'm doing everything really, really good, and the weight just keeps kind of getting on top of you, doesn't it? Another little bit, another little bit, and another little bit. And then you forget that you're even saying yes, that you didn't want to say yes. You now think this is your new normal. And that's when it gets bad, So,
Man.
yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? You don't realize you're doing it. And that's what I talk about autopilot. So I'll explain that right now before I go any further. Autopilot is doing that without you realizing you're doing it. And we have to get off autopilot to remove that weight.
Wow, that's so powerful. So, man, I never thought about finding myself in a cycle of autopilot and just, like you said, saying yes. Maybe you're that go-to person. Can you describe that pivotal moment where you realize that enough is enough with not saying yes to myself?
Well, actually, that's the problem. I didn't have a pivotal moment. I wish I could tell you this amazing story about, the whole world changed and all of that. But it was kind of more of a quiet change. I was actually traveling. I'm digital now. I'm nomadic. And I was over in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. And I should have been kind of satisfied with everything. The kids had grown up, doing my dream that I'd always talked about. And I still felt this weight. But I didn't know what it was. So, this is when self-reflection comes in and all that. And it's just that little bit of, once again, telling somebody, sure, I can do that, and feeling, should I have really done that? And then it's not also about always saying the wrong thing. Sometimes it's that conscious or unconscious agreeing to something and then being happy that you agreed to it, but you still didn't make the choice. And that's when I started to realize that I had no choice anymore. I was agreeing, disagreeing, saying things because I thought they were the right thing to do. I'm a business person. I've got to hustle. I've got to say the right things, Same as my kids ring me up 3 o'clock in the morning. Sure, I like 3 o'clock in the morning, by the way. I use it as a reference point all the time. Because when the kids were little, that was like, if you got woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, knew that the day was going to be long. So if I use it all the time, it's because it's a point in time that I go, if I wake up at 2 o'clock, I can go back to bed and all is good. If I wake up at 4 o'clock, I might even stay up. It's good, but 3 o'clock's sort of demon area in the middle. So yeah, it wasn't a pivotal moment. Oh, I need to make a conscious choice here. I've got to make a conscious choice. And then I started to realize that there was this space between the ask and my answer that I needed to claim. And that's sort of how it evolved. Unfortunately, I didn't have a big aha moment.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that, because I think many times when change happens, we're always looking for that moment where it all built up. But I really love how you said it really never came. It just kept stacking and stacking and stacking up. And you just were like, it was that moment of realization that I'm no longer saying yes to the things that are building me up, but they're really kind of just adding more weight to my plate. Man,
Yeah.
I think that's.
Sorry,
No, you're good. I know we have a little bit of a lag, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I want to hear what you're going to say.
Well, and this is why I was so excited to come on and talk to you, because you're talking about self-love. And see, I don't see self-permission as different to self-love. I see it an enhancement, because self-love is sometimes not as tangible, the self-permission allows it to be real, personal, and sustainable, because it's about you. But there's a little but here. You've got to not think that you're being selfish by doing self-permission. If anything, you're being less selfish than you've probably ever been in your life, because now you can help other people from a position of strength and lack of weight from all those yeses, which means you actually can give more. I found since I've been doing this that when I'm working with people, I'm giving so much more than I ever gave before. And it's sort of crazy because it's taking me less time. I'm feeling less stressed, and they're getting more value. So, by having these boundaries and by understanding that I'm letting that weight go, and, I slip up, I go back into it every now and then, quite often. But now I know it, as soon as I slip up and go to say yes, I make myself take a breath and I pause. Then I say it back to myself. And then I go, okay, so what was the question you asked me? Hang on a sec. This is my answer.
Oh man, Tina, I love that. I love how you talked about, it was when I was able to really remove that weight from myself, I was able to show up better for others. And I think that's such a critical moment of just when you start making yourself a priority and you start really saying yes to yourself. Man, that's so powerful how you're like, I'm able to show up better because I'm in the right space. And I know many times, like when you're a little frustrated or things are really weighing down on you, I agree. You can always show up better for people because, they feel that stress too when your plate's a little full. They're like, I'm a little hesitant to ask Tina today, because she's already loaded up. But I love how when you were in that right space, you're able to show up better for people. That's so awesome.
Yeah, and I think, isn't that what it's about? I mean, most of us, that's what we're doing, is we're wanting to give value, whether it's to our, your kids, your family, your friends, your customers, clients, whatever you want to call them, just the world in general. And if you can't do that from putting yourself first, you're doing it from exhaustion. And I've been there, and it's too hard. It's just too hard. You go from that person with a half glass full to that person with a half glass empty. Actually, I think I got to the stage the glass was smashed to the ground. It was that bad, and I'm so much happier now when every time I put a weight on myself, I take it back off and go, hang on a sec, pause, and then I take it off myself. And this self-permission, it deepens your self-love. It aligns you with your choices and your needs. It's not just expectations anymore. It's you first, and you become a better person.
Oh man, I love that. I love something I'm hearing. I'm hearing a powerful. You're saying the pause. So, what was the hardest part about learning to pause before saying yes?
I suppose the hardest bit was actually doing it, because I am so used to being on that autopilot where, yeah, I can help you. Yeah, I can help you. Oh, no, that's no good. Yeah, yes. I'm always the first out of the gate. I'm a little bit hyperactive, if you haven't noticed. And, I'm always gun ho and I'm getting into things, and, to actually go, and can be so micro. It can be such a micro pause that nobody notices it. But even if it's a couple of minutes, or not minutes, a couple of seconds, most people still don't notice it. And then if they ask, feeling that you're a bit slow, just mirror back what they've said to you and confirm it. They'll give you another minute or two to work out what you're going to say. So if somebody goes to me, I need you to do this job for me now, and it's got to be done tomorrow. So I'm going to pause, and then I could go, so you need me to do a job for you, and you need it done straight away by tomorrow at the latest. Is that correct? And you get them to clarify it. That gives you more time to decide whether you want to do it. But it also gives them the ability to actually clarify what they want, because sometimes they're demanding something from you that they didn't even realize they were demanding. So you're putting it back on them, and that allows you to pause.
Ooh, wow, man. Because it's so funny when you talk about that timing, because in my head, I'm like, how long is the pause supposed to be? But you said it could even be a microsecond. But realizing, like, many times you find yourself on autopilot, like, whether it's your family asks you or your boss asks you, you want to give that initial quick response. You always want to be, I want to be that first person to respond. Like, I'm the guy you can count on. But I love how you add that pause in. Like you said, giving yourself that permission to pause in the moment and see not only if it's right for you, but I see that you put that question back on them. I think that's so powerful because, like you said, maybe they don't really know what they're asking for. And you find yourself both being confused in that process.
Yeah, and especially if you've become that go-to person for them. They're just used to putting it on you because that's what you do. You fix things. And I know as a mum, and you would probably know as a dad, you're a super fixer. You fix everything. You fix things before they've even become things. And it's a real easy thing to stay in. And I know I've found it very hard as my children got into adulthood to just shut up and pause and let them tell me what they really want. And a lot of times what I thought they wanted and what they really wanted are two different things. And I would have fixed a problem that really wasn't a problem, except in my mind.
That's
So
so
yeah,
awesome.
it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, Tina, why do you feel that why do so many people struggle with just self-permission?
I think it's because it's kind of been, and you would be finding the same with even talking about self-love. It's been put into this category of you can only do this if you've got time, and it means going having a spa day, or telling the kids to go to their rooms and locking yourself into a room by yourself. It's become this has to be this big thing, but it's not. And because it's been marketed as this big thing, everybody thinks that to take that they've got to take something from somebody else or be selfish. But it's not being selfish. And it doesn't have to be that big, like I'm not going to say no to a spa day, but
Yeah.
it can be as simple as, that, as I said, that second of clarifying what you want and putting yourself first, that doesn't take anything from anybody else. And like, it can happen as simple as, you get an email. I love my email box to be empty, right? It makes me one less thing that I have to think about. So I would answer things straight away. Now I answer things at a certain time each day that I have blocked off unless it's urgent to do my emails. Does anybody get upset with me? No, so far, touch wood. Nobody's been, oh my God, you needed to answer me straight away. I needed to that. And if it does, they usually have the word urgent in it. A lot of times they have urgent in it, and it's not urgent, but that's a different story. You learn with those people. So it just keeps energizing you over and over again as this weight lifts off your shoulders, and you start seeing yourself not as selfish, but that's what we were conditioned to believe. Self-love, self-permission, self-value, it means that you're taking from somebody else to build yourself up, and that's where the problem is. And if we can get more people to understand that is not true, that if anything, having these things allows you to give more, well, then I think more and more people will start using and creating their own self-permission and having more self-love with themselves.
Man, I love that. I love that continuum because, like you said, it's people really find themselves, like when I'm, like you said, giving myself permission, or when it comes to self-love, they feel like I'm taking away. And I love how you said that. It's really when you're actually giving more because you're showing up better for yourself, so you're able to show up better for others. And I like how you were talking about, hey, it's not a selfish thing, but it's really identifying what you really want. I think that's so important because we find ourselves doing things, like you said, on autopilot, and then we're exhausted, we're not motivated anymore, and we're just frustrated and not able to show up for the people who really need us, or those times that are mission critical. Yes.
But it's lies. And
Yeah.
And the thing always about changing the yes to a no, because like, okay, for example, a few years back, I was asked to make a whole bunch of biscuits for a camp that one of my children, well, two of my children were going on. And it was the day before, and like they wanted a lot, like they wanted a couple of hundred of them. Now, I said yes automatically, right? But I wanted to do it. I love baking biscuits. I had no problems doing that. But it would have been nice back then to have known that I could make a conscious choice to still say yes. But at first, when I got home, going, oh, no, I got to make these biscuits, even though I knew I wanted to do it, because I didn't have put that conscious pause in there. For first, I was a bit like, how dare they ask me to do these things, even though it's what I wanted to do. And I made them, and I was very happy and very excited to take them the next day. But because I didn't have that, I nearly sabotaged what I was doing, simply because I started to think of all the, somebody else is going to say, you're a pushover because you made these biscuits at 2:00 in the morning, but I was happy to do it. It was fun. I like making things. So yeah, that's a bigger bit of the problem as well, is by not having that conscious choice, you can sometimes ruin something that you actually want, and I think that's something you've got to be aware of. It's not always about changing a yes to a no or a no to a yes. It's about understanding that you've made that decision based on what you need, what value you can give. Like, for example, if I knew I couldn't do that and I was going to make biscuits that nobody wanted to eat, or I was going to, ruin them or whatever, well, then me saying yes to that was silly, because I couldn't fulfill that task. And I think that's the biggest problem, is not so much that it's yes or no, is that understanding it's conscious.
Wow. That is so awesome. I love that. It is a conscious. It's a choice. You're choosing yourself. So what would you say are some of the common signs? Like if somebody's listening to this, and like, you know what, I don't even know if I've been really trapped in a cycle of overcommitment. How can somebody really identify that they're finding themselves in these cycles of overcommitment?
Okay, so first thing I would say is, the next time somebody asks, no, actually, go look in the mirror. What's the first thing you say to yourself? Is it bad or is it good? Okay, so you looked in the mirror and you went, oh my God, look at me. I look terrible. I'm overweight. I'm underweight. I'm too tall. I'm too short, whatever the case may be. And straight away, you have automatically dissed yourself. So now, pause and look at yourself again and go, hey, yeah, maybe I could lose a few kilos. I might do some more exercise. Or maybe I'm actually happy the way I am. Or maybe the thing that I really don't like is that color that I'm wearing is really bad and I should change my shirt and then I'd be really happy. But that's good. That's constructive criticism. If you're wearing if I put a yellow shirt on, I look like I'm dying. So no yellow shirts for me. But, that's the first thing is see how bad your self-criticism is. Pause on that one first. Because if you can pause for that one for yourself, you'll be able to do it for other people. And you can practice doing that one. Do it for a couple of days. Get up every day or do it a couple of times a day. Just go look in the mirror and smile at yourself. And pause and say something nice to yourself. I know this is self-love and this is a little bit of, affirmation-y stuff, but it's kind of like a practice to understand that conscious choice. Yeah. I consciously choose not to make myself feel bad right now. And I still do that one. I still go in and go, oh no, what am I doing? The hair's too frizzy, the hair's this, So I think that's the easiest one to do and also the hardest one because honestly, most of us don't want to do that. It's easier to do it with somebody else. That's why I thought I'd say that because I would have normally said go when the next thing would be when somebody asks you a question, pause, breathe, mirror it back, and then see if the question is what you want to do. So if you said to me, hey, Tina, do you reckon you could come on this podcast at 2:00 in the morning instead of 5:00 in the morning? I could go, pause, consider it, and go, yeah, sure, I'm still coming anyway. But it was conscious, So that's your next thing to do. But it's about just, and I know it's so simple that it's crazy how simple it is. And that's why I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm not giving enough because it's so simple. But then I realize that sometimes the simplicity is where we get lost. Yeah. Is, we're expecting this 5-step program and, 6 years of doing something, to create something for ourselves when it's not needed. It's great, do those things too, but maybe you could do those things by first pausing and making sure you want to do them.
Oh, I love that, Tina, man. That is so powerful because it's many times we're so like you said, it's just because it's common sense and it's so simple. It's really hard to really implicate, especially when it's something for yourself. I love how it's something that you're doing for yourself because many times we find ourselves, like you say, saying yes to things to helping somebody else, but mainly when it comes to ourselves, we tend to put them off. But I love how that practice is something that you have to be intentional about, right? I think that's so awesome.
And then you could also look at weight. Where people are giving you weight. That'd be the second thing I would look at is, am I getting all my weight at work, at home, a bit of both? Going out with all my friends all the time when honestly I just want to go read a book in the corner. Find out where all those weights of yeses are coming from, and that's where you would go next. And as soon as you lift one of them, it's amazing the difference. And then you start going, oh, I need to do another one. It becomes kind of a little bit addictive.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you mentioned something that says, so how can we navigate the guilt that we often comes with saying no? Because I know we're talking about the power of saying yes to ourselves. How do we navigate that guilt that comes, from saying no in that moment?
Well, I think because you're doing it consciously, you've already decided why you're saying no. You don't have to tell anybody, by the way. No is a full sentence. You do not have to justify. But you might have to justify to yourself for a little while. Like, I'm saying no because I don't have the energy to do that. I'm saying no because, honestly, I can't fit that in. I've got too much on my plate. Or as simple as I'm saying no because I'm exhausted even thinking about doing what you're requesting, And it could be just, I don't want to. Like, it doesn't have to be justified. So what are you saying to that person? They've come and asked you for something and they're so used to you saying, yeah, sure, no worries. Yeah, cool, I can do that. No problems. You can just say no. Sorry, no. Can't fit that in. And that's not justifying it. It's making a statement. Right? And when they disagree with you, just say, oh, okay. So what did you exactly want me to do? Yeah, no, I don't have time for that. So you make them say it back to you a couple of times, and then they start realizing that they're asking you for something that just can't be done. do you think I have time for that? Oh, you start mirroring back what they're saying, and you'll be surprised on how many people will accept a no, but they're just at first they're so confused because you always say yes. Can you do this shift for me because I want a day off? Oh, sure, I always take those shifts. I need the extra money. But what if the extra money means that you're now exhausted and you're not going to save it anyway because you now bought takeaway 3 nights in a row because you're so exhausted from, working extra shifts that you actually become more behind. So, just say to them, no, sorry, I've got other plans. So.
Man, I love
I
that,
know I
Tina. I
talk
think
fast,
many times, yeah, no, that was good. I love that. I love the fact you really talked about no as being a full sentence. I think many times as a parent, as someone maybe talking to your boss, you feel like when I say no, I have to give that reason. But I love how you said it's a full sentence. You don't necessarily have to, nothing else has to come after that. And I really love that strategy of the mirroring of what they said, because like you said, many times people don't really fully know what they're asking you. And I think mirroring it back gives them the time to process, like, okay, maybe I could ask somebody else. I love that.
Oh, good. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it, that expectations become like a dialogue between people, and sometimes everybody's doing it on autopilot. They've just been lumped with something they don't know what to do with. They can't fix it. So, you're their fixer, so you're now fixing it. But they probably could fix it. Or maybe they're going to say to you, well, look, I'm sorry, I'm your boss. You can't say no. I'm going to make you do it. And then you could say to them, well, okay, if I have to do it, be aware I have these 6 obligations to do. Which one of these would you like me to put on the back burner to fit this one in? And then they go, okay. Because you're not being disrespectful then. You're saying, absolutely, if this has got to be a priority, fine, but something's got to give. There's only so many hours that I'm here, or there's only so many minutes I can actually work productively, or whatever the case may be, and I think that it will cause some friction at the beginning, but don't start with the hard button. Start with a few easy ones like yourself, and do it with your kids, do it with your friends. That usually you can sway. You don't have to go in straight in the first time you do it. Go and do it with your boss on something that he always walks over the top of you. Maybe leave that one off for a few times, and maybe if you can't take all the weight off from him or her, maybe you do a half weight. So, you want me to do this? So you want me to do this by when? How do you want me to do this? Get all that information out of them, and then say, and what's going to happen next? And that puts it back on them a little bit. And it sounds like you care. It's actually quite good because you're only mirroring it back, and it sounds like you really care, which you do kind of, but you're actually trying to get weight off yourself. But you're asking them to clarify so that you can then say, well, they're not going to let me get rid of this whole weight of this yes, but maybe I can get them to make the weight a little bit less. And that's the best I can do in this situation. And sometimes you got to suck it up and just do it because you're not going to lose that weight. But then that's still a conscious, okay, this is life. I can't lose the weight of this yes. I'm going to have to still get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and feed the baby. You've got to do it no matter what. But it's okay then, because you're doing it. You don't want to do it, but you can still do it with a bit of, humor and a bit of, this is life,
Yes, man. I love that, Tina, man. That's so powerful. Like you said, what you said right there, because just really coming back to that love and that respect for yourself, and realizing that, man, it's a hard thing. It's hard, like you said, but just mirroring it back and making it clear, realizing you don't have to bury the whole weight. I think that's awesome that you can ask for help. I think many times it's either the yes or the no, but we never really think about the in between. Like maybe they can just lighten the load. I never thought about that. Really finding that medium in there of what you can do. But what would you say it means to give from permission rather than self-sacrifice?
Okay, so when I give from permission, I know that I'm giving it from the place where I've strengthened myself. I've let go of that load, and I know that I'm going to give more value. When I come from sacrifice, I'm coming from, oh, I wish I didn't have to do this, but I'll do it. I'll carry on. I'm a trooper. So it kind of feels really negative straight away. It feels like you don't value yourself or them. Because if you're giving
Oh,
something to somebody from self-sacrifice, you're not giving them the love or the value that you want to give in that situation. And I know we talk about work a little bit, and you think, oh, how can I give love at work? Well, even if you're doing a job that you really, really hate, and you just got to be there for till you can leave it, or maybe you've got to be there forever because it pays the bills. Sometimes turning that dial to self permission and allowing yourself to go, well, this is where I am in life. I want to help that person because if I help that person, the day goes quicker. It feels a lot better than, oh, I've got to do this. This is a sacrifice. I'm doing what I need to do in life because this pays the bills. Um, yeah. And like we all have had to do things, well, not everybody, but a lot of us have had to do things in life that wasn't pleasant. Um, but it's turning that conscious choice on. I choose to acknowledge that this is horrible. It's not what I want in life, and I'm going to change it when and if I can. But it's my burden at the moment, and I'm going to at least try to make the weight not so heavy.
oh, I love that. I love that conscious choice, like you're saying. We can have that choice to really ask those questions. It's funny when you said those emotions, you initially can feel them. Like, you said yes to something, you're like dreading it. You're like, oh, why do I got to do it? Like that obligations that, always come your way. But I love how you talked about, it's really just sometimes we can't say no to them. Like sometimes it's just part of the process, but giving yourself that permission and understanding it's part of the journey. I think many times, like if somebody's coming here, they're like, so now I just need to say no to the things. But I love how you said sometimes you're going to have to say yes, but you got to understand and give yourself permission to realize this is part of to get me to the next level. This isn't the end all be all, but to identify where you're at with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think we keep getting this this message that self-love means that it's all roses and everything's perfect, and by
Yeah.
giving yourself self-love that life will be suddenly better. Sure, it will be better, but it really comes back from it is a mindset thing, and it also comes back from consciously making the choice. Now, I have been in situations that I can say were horrendous, um, but I could either dwell on it and go into sabotaging and sacrifice and be miserable, or I could, say, well, this is what I've got at the moment. I probably caused it. I probably did a few things wrong. Maybe I was just unlucky and the step went left instead of going right. But this is where I'm at, and I'm giving myself permission to acknowledge it, live with it, and make the best as I can by consciously trying to change one little yes at a time. And, I think if people can start doing that and not trying to make it a big all encompassing, I'm going to self love myself and sing kumbaya in the corner, they might find that they can do this. Just, one little step at a time.
Yes, that is so awesome. I love that. I love that. So how can someone rebuild their trust in their own decisions, after years of saying yes out of obligation? How can you really rebuild that trust back in yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. I like that one. Okay, so start with looking at yourself. As I said, go to the mirror and trust yourself. Look at yourself and say, okay, yes, this is here. There is some things I could fix. There is some things that, the how you look at yourself, what you look like, what your hair is like, you might not be able to change that. But like it anyway. See if you can fix it. Maybe if you've got um blonde hair and gray's coming through and it's now going grey, you put some purple in it so that you can pretend it's not as grey as you think it is. you know, you've just got to say, well, this is my life. But you'll notice that if you do it for that little bit to yourself and it makes you smile, that's a little bit of weight gone. If your son or daughter or your family asks you to do something and you consciously say, just give me a moment to think about that. I'm not sure what my plans are, or I'm not sure if I can fit that in, or I'm just not sure. Just give me a sec. That's when you start realizing you hadn't thought about it before. You just agreed. And it's going to feel awkward. But guess what? What's the worst they're going to say? No, to give you the answer straight away. Give me the answer straight away. But while they tell you to give you the answer straight away, you've had a pause, you've thought about it. Now you can give them the answer straight away.
Yes, I love that. I think that's one of those major challenges, like if you've been asked, you have to really build that trust back in yourself. But I love how it comes back to really spending time with yourself. That's what I hear is like getting in that mirror, doing those daily practices, and start seeing if your choices are aligning with who you are. I really love how it comes back to really just that self-reflection and really asking yourself what you truly want again.
Yeah, and after you've done that a couple of times, you may never do it again. I don't do it anymore, except if I come home for a day where I've done stuff and I've tended to be a little bit more negative. Then I might just go back and remind myself. But I don't do it every morning. Um, I felt that I didn't need to because it felt, not that it felt uncomfortable, it just felt that I didn't need to. My weight wasn't in my how I felt about myself. My weight was in my boundaries in workplace. I tended to, because I've been in business for myself for 30 years, um, I would tend to be the go-to fix-it girl. And 90% of the time, it was absolutely fabulous. And I had great clients and I loved every moment of it. But that other 10%, you get those clients that pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And when I realized that that's where most of my weight was, I didn't do the other stuff as much. I focused on that. So, it's a great start, but it doesn't have to be a daily affirmation sort of thing. It all has to be about what you need. Do you need repetition? Well, then do it. If you just need it every now and then to just make yourself go back into that smile mode of going, yeah, I'm being a bit of a doof today, then do it then, because it's all about what works for you. I have no 5 steps to do this. It's just take that pause, be conscious about acknowledging what you need in a moment. When somebody asks you, as I said, it's between the ask and the answer. And the ask can be you asking yourself if you look good today, or it can be your boss asking you to do something, your daughter or son asking you to do something, anybody, the bus driver asking you to move 5 steps that way. It's that space between the ask and the answer is what you need to find.
Man, that is awesome. That space is so powerful. I mean, it's amazing just to hear, like when you're talking about just giving yourself that space and some grace along the journey. And it's like when you show up, like I noticed, like you talking about, when you show up like that for yourself, you're able to show up like that for others and give them that space and that grace as well. I think that's so powerful.
Exactly.
How it becomes a two-way street.
Because
So
you'll
how would you?
notice.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. Oh no, I'm
I
sorry.
was just going to say, you notice that when you do it, that other people will sort of mirror you without them knowing what they're doing. So tell them if you want to. But, I notice when I sort of tend to pause, like I'll be on with a call with somebody, and before I've even mentioned it, they'll ask me something and I'll just go, and pause before I reply. I notice that they do it and don't even realize they're doing it. So it can be mirrored quite easily if you make it that little bit more obvious. But you don't have to. It also can be that microsecond where nobody knows you're doing
it. Yes, I love that. I love that. So what would you say to someone, who's like, man, I'm listening to these strategies, Tina, but I just feel like saying no is still selfish. How did you really get over that hump when, especially as a parent or a caregiver?
You've just got, yes, you do. And like, that's what my book is called, take selfish back. I actually believe that you have to claim that word selfish. Own it. It's your word. Selfish is good. If you're being selfish, you're putting yourself first. And so don't let anybody, when somebody says to you, oh, you're being selfish, go, thanks. I'm putting myself first so I can help you more. Own it. You should be selfish. If you're not selfish, how can you give more? If you don't put yourself first, how can you give more? If you don't look after yourself, like, okay, if you don't, just think of it from a tangible point of view. If I don't feed myself today and I feed my children and we do that every day for a week, where am I going to be? Probably on the floor, not very well. Why? Because I didn't look after myself. And I know that's a stupid example, but it is still the same thing, isn't it? So take selfish back. Own it. Absolutely, you're being selfish, and you should.
Man, I love that. I love that. That is so true. That is so true. I think we've taken selfish and put it in the back but you're saying you have to be, like you said, you have to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only person who will take care of you, right?
Yes. And if you take care of yourself, guess what? Others tend to as well. It sort of becomes this vibration of you looking after yourself and feeling respected and respecting yourself. And then it happens like, I won't give the example, I won't say who this person is, but I know somebody that recently just was talking to me, and they took on a new job at the bottom of the pile, like they should have been new job. But they'd worked in this this company previously when they had another contract, because they're doing contract work. And so they knew all the systems, like so easy, but they never promoted themselves or asked for those positions. And all of a sudden there was a major muck up, and they knew the answer to fix it. So they stepped up and they fixed it. And now people suddenly looking at them going, wow, who are you? You know, and they're now being given that position, and they've moved up, and all these crazy things have happened. But before, this person, she wouldn't have stepped up. She would have told somebody else to tell them what to do, you know, quietly in the corner. She
Yeah.
wouldn't have felt, she didn't feel her own worth to know that she actually could fix this. She saved the company quite a lot of money because they were billing wrong. But she would have, you know, just told one of the managers and let them have all the things. But that's what she said. By the time I told the manager, I could have had it fixed. And also, I knew how to do it. Why should I have to tell somebody else? So she stepped up. And that was because we've been talking about how her self-permission was seeing that she isn't, you know, just because she's at the bottom again, isn't, she's not worthless because she's starting from a new contract, you know. And that was, it was kind of, you know, a bit of an aha for her, because she's done multiple contracts and been invisible. And all of a sudden, she's not only not invisible, she's actually getting a promotion.
Man, that is so awesome. I love that. I love that, because it's really like you said, stepping up into your power and realizing that, hey, when I love myself and I care for myself, I help everybody else. Like when I hear that situation, she's like, I have the ability here. And I think many people maybe listening to this have like realized that, man, I've been sheltering myself because I'm holding everybody's weight, or I'm afraid to take on any more. But when you start to love yourself and open up that space and give everybody else grace, you really give yourself an opportunity to help in other ways. I imagine that she probably never thought she could.
Yeah, I agree. And it's lovely, you know. It's why we're here. I think it's why we're here doing our whatever we're doing on the earth, isn't it? Is to feel like that we've made an impact, a difference, a moment. You know, we don't all have to be whatever, but you know, you just like to feel that in a moment you gave and received value, and that's what I think self-permission allows you to do, and do it from a position of strength.
Man, Tina, that is beautiful. All right, so Tina, so what would you say to somebody listening to this? What would you want? What is a message of hope that you would want somebody to take away from this conversation? What would you want somebody to leave here with this conversation with?
Okay, so the biggest thing I would probably say is that you have to choose to make a conscious choice to put yourself first. Self-permission is not selfish. It is your right, and you already own it. You just got to claim it. Nice and simple.
Ooh, yes, I love it, Tina. Man, that is so powerful. So, hey, Tina, man, I know, like me, where can people get connected with you at?
Oh, easy. My domain is tinafletcher.com.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, you guys, she kept it simple right there. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do here, you guys, I'm gonna make it super simple. I'm gonna put all of Tina's links under this post right here, under this podcast in there. She's gonna have all of her links. She has that book that you guys need to get. Was that book? What was the name of it? It's The Weight of Yes.
Weight of Yes.
Yeah, she has a great book. Really kind of does that really covers kind of what we talked about today as well, right?
Yeah, a lot of what we talked about today, and it goes into those things that we were talking about, because it's called the subtitle of it is Take Selfish Back. So it very much goes into the guilt and the feeling selfish, and all of those things. It's just making you understand. And I believe this weight of yes is the first part of self-permission. And hence the reason I put this book out first is because I really believe that conscious understanding that weight allows you to move through self-permission a lot faster than if you were going more from a self sort of like self-helpy sort of I need to look after myself position. So yeah.
Man, Tina, that is beautiful. All right, you guys. So, man, thank you so much, Tina, for just sharing your wisdom, your story, and just the knowledge. But like Tina said, I love something she said. She said, it's a choice. You have to make that choice. So not only make that choice to go connect with Tina on all her socials, but go check out that book as well, you guys. It's going to be right here under this post. Thank you so much, Tina, for your time. Truly a pleasure. All right, here, friends. So, hey, make sure you not only make self-love a priority, but we talked about what was it again? Self-permission. Yes, self-permission. And realize that self-permission, like Tina said, is a choice. Take care.